youngest brother. That's my namesake. And one thing about Tuitu'u is, I think he's right, he's a man of knowledge. He knew everything. I remember I just sit there in the lounge and ask all these questions, and then they just come up with all the answers. Just off the top of his head, and I saw these one day after training, and I was asking Tuitu'u what was wrong with me, like my hurt or something. The man gave me all these stretches, grabbed an ice pack for me, and I was getting a couple of hours, but then I went to his computer. And I was starting to do a search history, and among some other funny things, the man just Googled it, eh? He's like, "Who's talking?" I'm like, "What the heck? These guys not even that smart." But one thing Tuitu'u told me was, I can say this now, is how to be a sore loser. Joe was right, I've only won one game against Tuitu'u. All the years we played together, but the one game he did play, he was like, "Vaiangina." He was like, "I just got to grab my phone from the car," and he drives off home. I had a long 20-minute hike home, but man, it taught me how to be a man. My older brother. I think there's one thing this guy told me that was false or wasn't sure of his word. I'm sorry to it's taken me your best to listen to you, but I will take everything he's told me, take everything at heart, and I will grow up. I don't think I'll ever lose another game to anyone else. But you were number one, so you led us from the front. You always stood your ground. You fought all our battles for us, especially against Martin, man. I'm just going to stand up to Mum before we'll get through it. One time we were driving home, and Nicky thought it was funny to put fingers at this guy next to us in the car at the lights. And he just tailgated us all the way home, so we were just getting angry, man. The guy wouldn't get off our ass. But Tuitu'u, he hops out the car, the guy gets out, he locks our doors, and he just confronts this guy, man. I'm just standing there. Tuitu'u could have got his ass whipped that day, and I was just stood there and like, man, that's my older brother. I love you, Tuitu'u. I truly miss you, but I mean it. We'll grow up, and I will be a better man than you. She did a lot. It's also seeing everyone here, because those of you who know me personally, he was pretty top secret. He kept his life secret, kept his friend's secret, kept his missus secret. He was always there for us. So to see everyone here tonight, it makes me happy to know that we were all able to share the blessing of knowing Tuitu'u. He was a lighthouse. He guided us everywhere. A big old smile. Boy, alright, he was like, yeah. So he swore he wasn't the blackest in the family, but you take that compliment, take it with you. But honestly, feel free, because he did live a secret life, so there's a lot we don't know about him. We don't know it all, but it's awesome hearing stories about Tuitu'u, because man, they just bring flashbacks back to me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Max. I was with Tuitu'u at OCS 2019. Everyone's said quite a few words, so I'll just say a couple of sentences to compensate. I just have a memory of during the winter, most recently gone, we would go up to the mountain a couple of times. Tuitu'u didn't want to have anything at all to do with the snow, but he did love to go up to Oakuni, and we had a lodge we'd go and stay at, and we'd get there, I'd bugger off for the day and get cold, and he'd be there when I came back. He'd be there with his laptop out, the fire cranking, there'd be dinner on the mate, and he'd be there doing some study and getting some work in. It was a little spot he enjoyed as a place to just completely focus on some of his work without anyone around, and avoiding attention was something he did very often. One example is, again, on those trips, once driving back down, I needed to swing into the petrol station, fill up the car. As soon as that nozzle was back down, I go in, he was in there buying a coffee, and my tank was paid for as well. Never said anything, never asked for anything. He was just always there, always helping. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Thomas. I don't really have first memories of Tu'i. I was a couple years younger than him, and he knew more about the James. So I've always just known Tu'i. When we got older, we got on a lot better. He would used to come to the workshop every summer, and he'd just crank away at the bit. First couple of years, he never asked for a dime. Did about 16-hour days. Just absolutely loved it. I do a bit of a yarn about Tu'i. We're at the Boxing Day races, and we were getting on the gas pretty heavy. This guy disappears for a bit, comes back with a ticket, and he's just kept $500 on a horse. We're all standing there laughing, thinking, yep, this horse is going to win. It's going to cream it. It's going to be a good night. As the horses come around the last straight, the last corner, we're looking for his horse, and it's right at the back. But even that didn't take a smile off his face. He loved it. He just had a story to tell. That's all he really wanted in his life, was to just tell good stories, great yarns. I'm very grateful that I got to spend the last 3 weeks of Tu'i's life with him. I've never had so many great reviews from delivering furniture to Ponsonby. I think he was a hit with all the wives there. Same as Joel. But yeah, Tu'i was a great man, and he's taught me some very good life lessons. And if I can up to even a quarter what Tu'i has been, then it'll be fantastic. Yeah, thanks for letting me talk.
Connor. I went to Santa Maria with Tu'i. I think the last time I was up here, I had to say a prayer. I'm pretty nervous I had now. It's the fastest thing I ever ran. So trust Tu'i to get me up here again in front of everybody. But I think I just wanted to touch on what a lot of people have already said, and just the sort of man Tu'i was, and the values he sort of instilled in himself, and the people he came in touch with. Like, he would always put everyone else before himself. He always, like, though obviously off into the army, we wouldn't see him for a number of months, but he'd always make that effort to call you on your birthday. And it wasn't just one of us, it was all of us from school. He'd always ask after our partners, and just really put other people before himself. And it's a quality that, like Chris said, if the world had, it would be a better place for it. I've got lots of memories of Tu'i, like most people, having parties and running back from R&B and just doing things that we probably shouldn't have done, but it was good for our fitness at the time. But I just think one thing I sort of wanted to again touch on, that a few people have sort of said is Tu'i's intelligence. I remember in school we always just, me and him would sit together in a lot of the classes we did, and we did a lot of the same options, and later on in school, and he'd always get better grades than me and just have that cheeky grin on his face, and I was like, how are you doing this? Like, and he wasn't studying, so it's just something Tu'i was always good at. And in our last year of high school, he became a prefect, which sort of reminded me when I got here. And I remember as we the seniors used to sit at the back of the hall, and he got called up as a prefect, and all the juniors were there, and the teachers would sit in line with each year respectively, and just their faces as he walked to the front of just, how's that happened? But that was I don't know how, it was effortless, but he just seemed to overachieve. And I used to tell him that he could do anything he wanted, and I truly believe that. And I truly feel very honoured to have known Tu'i for the short time that I did, and I definitely will take what I've learned from Tu'i and instill it into my family and tell people about him, and just keep his memory alive and keep in touch with his brothers. And yeah, I just wanted to come up here and say something because blabbering on is per, but thanks for that. Cheers.
Evening everyone. I also did OCS in 2019 with Tuitu'u. The thing I'd like to share is our second field exercise, it's the best ever. He was my battle buddy for pretty much that whole exercise. And he really took me under his wing. He obviously knew what he was doing. I know CS, 2-1 run, was real well versed in the field. I was batting him a lot, but so humble, so gracious. He was always coaching me, always had time for me, always gave me advice, gave me goals. I don't know if I ever really thanked him for how much he helped me on that exercise, but really set me up well for the rest of the year, and I'm always thankful for that. I last saw him on the 7th of December. It's been mentioned that he was a pretty secretive guy. Yeah? We were at the welcoming the new officers to the mess up on the 7th floor. I was down on the 6th floor, running to him, he's in the baggage room, grabbing his stuff in the stash there. Said, "You're coming up." He's like, no, none of that, don't come in, I'm here. Pretty classic Tuitu'u. Last thing he said to me was, "I'll catch you in the new year." Lied to me, but whatever, I'll catch you in the new side Tuitu'u.
Hey everyone, my name's Grayson, I'm one of the OCS one. The first time I ever saw Tuitu'u, he scared the absolute crap out of me. We'd just gotten off the plane into our 12 months of training, and everyone here stood out like a sore thumb obviously. I didn't really expect him for those couple of weeks, and then, because we were in separate groups, and then one time I remember he came into our barrack room, and I was walking down this small hallway, and I saw him come out into the hallway, and I immediately jumped out of the way because I was still scared of him. And that was pretty much the last I spoke to him until we got to the room, where we got paired up in a hallway of 6 people. We were down the hall from each other, and I knew that he was an absolute softie and such a sweetie. Fast forward to our first field exercise, as the boys on the test, I was hating life. First time it rained, I crouched, broke down and cried. And I was just thinking how it wasn't for me. So one day we were doing a reconnaissance exercise, and pretty much we were lying in the rain, dead quiet, looking at cars, and I whispered to him that I was thinking about quitting, and I remember he just turned to me, and in the middle of the silence just yelled, "What?" and I was so taken aback. It was the loudest thing, to which I actually covered my ears, because I was so surprised at his audacity to do that. And from there, the rest of the year, he really helped me out. I struggled a lot last year, and I was going through a lot of personal things, and he was always there. So, one time, and the boys don't know this, but I even paid him to write me an essay. We were doing a university paper, I should probably say, so that doesn't really matter now. And everyone's been saying tonight that he was a really intelligent guy, but actually contrary to that belief, I didn't really think so, because he promised me double-crossed his heart that he'd get A+, and then I'd give him $200, and he ended up getting a C+. And I still paid him $200. I think the greatest thing about Tuitu'u is, as soon as he got a couple of drinks in him, he turned from this really tall, staunch figure into pretty much a small little baby, in which he just curled up in a ball and just giggled the whole night until he fell asleep. We went to Wellington once, and I've got a photo on my phone of him curled up in a ball with a case in front of him, and he's just covering it. And I think that really breaks him up really well, and he's just a big softie. This year again, I really struggled with the hunting lifestyle. I decided it wasn't for me for many reasons, and I felt really alone. And Tuitu'u was the only one that I felt I could talk to. And I learned that he was just down the hallway from me. I didn't actually know, as he was very secretive. And I go down the hall to talk to him, and I get in, and as I'm going into his room, he's stealing a bed base from someone else. And he's just got these two beds, you're only got one, but he had two of them in his room. And I knocked on the door, and he turns around looking super suspicious. And he saw it was me, and just the biggest smile cracked into his face. And he's like, come. So yeah. third, next 5 months, I relied on him and one of the boys quite heavily, and I really helped me through a bit of a tough time. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name's David. I can call a lot of things, but two used to call me Dupes. So, family, feel free to adopt that nickname this evening. I just pray that I have the courage to lead you to get through this. Tuitu'u's always been there when I cry. Back when we did combat war training together, some of the hardest things I've ever done. And when I made it, Tuitu'u and I had a nice little fight. When we commissioned as officers, we had a nice little fight. When he was at my wedding, we had a nice little fight. And when I got the call, I cried by myself. And I'm trying really hard not to give another one. A lot of the lads will agree that Tuitu'u and I are real yin and yang duo. Well, I tend to never smile, tend to be a little bit more concrete, a little bit hard-nosed. Tuitu'u was this bubbly, infuriating man. I remember he was a real risk taker too. We were on OCS and we were learning how to write orders. It's essentially just a giant list of instructions that you can give. And we were told that one person was going to deliver the orders. So we came in, sat down next to me, and I was like, "God, what you doing?" He was like, "Nah, there's like 40 of us here, like one of the odds." And I had like half of mine, and the rest were kind of like little sentences that I written down to jog my memory, things that I'd say. And truth be told, he gets called up to do something. And so he grabs my list. And he gets up there and he starts delivering my orders that he had no clue what was going on. And I noticed that when he turned to the page where most of it was blank and it just had one word or a small sentence to jog my memory of my plan. And he gave me a look, which is probably the closest thing to a personal victory I've ever had at Tuitu'u. He's a man who's definitely always pushed me out of my comfort zone. Be that at work. He encouraged me to go to OCS with him, and when I was there, there's a role which is involved in the bar, so I'm not a very outgoing kind of person. I don't like to consume ultra amounts of alcohol and chat to lots of people about that kind of stuff, and he essentially nominated me against my knowledge of the position, which I then didn't get. So. And then, of course, he continues to do so as I was forced to come here and share my heart with you guys. Yeah, I'm comfort zone once again. Tuitu'u was once my friend, always will be. He's my comrade and my brother. I miss him so much. And to the family, I only knew Cherry for 6 years, so I really sympathize with you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James. I had the privilege of going to school with Tuitu'u and continuing to play rugby with him through university. I think, first of all, I haven't prepared anything, so I apologise, but I knew that a man who had been so loyal to me, such a great friend for so many years, deserved a small amount of bravery on my part to come up and at least say something. But
I think so much of what embodies Tu'i has been said tonight. Joy is something that Tu'i permeated. He was always happy, he was always positive, even in the times that made no warranted it. He was such a loyal friend. When I received the news, I don't think it truly sunk in. And in the following days, as memories flooded back of times we'd spent together and things we'd done together, loyalty is something I just cannot emphasize enough. Tu'i was such a caring loyal friend. There are so many stories of times where Tu'i would put himself second in order to be the great friend that he was and to uplift those around him. A few funny ones I can remember would be when we tried to make the transition from school rugby to club rugby. I remember walking to pre-season with him and going through the car park, and I remember whisperings of the Prem's coach coming along, and kid you not, could have been invisible. He sure as hell didn't see me. But he saw this 6 foot, whatever it was, never quite sure, 6'7", 6'9", probably 7 foot by the time you got the tape measure out. But immediately runs up to Tu'i and would love to have a conversation around coming to play rugby for the club. And I'll never forget that moment. It was a moment where Tu'i would not engage in that conversation without using the word we. Every moment that we were talking about rugby and where we wanted to go and what we were wanting to do, it was the two of us. And Tu'i, I think, kind of strung his arm around me for most of his rugby career. I think he felt sorry for me. I think he, out of charity, decided that the best shot I had was a 6'7" Tongan coming to any rugby club that I was hoping to make a dent in. And luckily enough, we ended up at Takapuna Rugby Club and had many a great time there. I remember another time with Tu'i where my parents, who, though I love them dearly, were quite strict, and we'd probably had a fair too many beers at the rugby club at a still fairly young age, and we'd been invited back to dinner at my parents' place, and before I could say no or say that we had other plans, Tu'i excitedly said yes, we were very free for dinner and we would love to come and eat. I tried to pull him aside quickly and say, look, we probably just need to put on a good face here, because we could get myself in a little bit of trouble if they know that we've been having a few beers. And as the loyal good friend he was, he said, not a problem, James, but they won't know a thing. They won't know a thing. And we sat at that table. I think we talked more than we've ever talked, but I just remember this moment where dinner was finished. His plate was in fact empty, as was mine. And as we were clearing the table, there was a ring of food sitting under his plate. And to my shock, I realised that due to a few beers, things were getting messy around the plate. Despite the love of food that Tu'i had, he was so loyal that he was just scraping it under the plate so as not to be seen. When I told my parents that the other day, they said they hadn't a clue, so he must have kept his promise, and somehow they didn't realise that we'd had a few too many. There are many wonderful stories about Tu'i. He came and often would enjoy an evening with us in our hostel. He wasn't part of our hostel, he wasn't even going to our university, but he was loved dearly by the 200 people that I happened to live with. He was known by name. He was caring and protecting of them, and many of them have also shared their well wishes to Tu'i. I think something was mentioned earlier by the family, an ask to share stories with Tu'i, share the stories that we've got to experience. And as I was thinking about all the stories that have been shared and the many that I have that I think would be selfish for me to take a microphone for that long to share, I think one thing that you can be certain of is the joy that Tu'i had in his heart is not something that can be faked. You can be joyful for a moment, and if you try really, really hard, you can be joyful for a few moments. But you faith, the joy that Tu'i had, that permeated his life, that each and every one of us got to experience. And when I read the news of Tui's passing, I saw it exploded over social media, and I sort of thought, wow, I've had such a great privilege of knowing this man in school and in university, and yet I was completely shocked and awed, except I wasn't really, to see so many other people with such a depth of experience and relationship with Tu'i. And I think that symbolizes him. And if I can say anything about my brother Tu'i, it's that we can take confidence that that man had a beautiful heart. He did. And every one of us got the joy of experiencing him. So, Tu'i, I love you. You will always be my brother. I know at the end we didn't see each other often, but when we did, it was good. You will never be forgotten, friend.